And welcome back to 50/50. I'm delighted to be here with my friend Rachel today. Rachel and I have known each other we can base it on our children, right? Actually, our children are very important to mention because not unlike other episodes we've done in this podcast, there are two children upstairs desperate to make noise.
Yes.
We don't have to worry because we have Grayson who can worry about such things, but we have told them to try and take it easy. Before we left home, I said to Sam, make sure you don't bring anything noisy. So he brought dominoes and marbles.
Oh, brilliant.
Well
Kieran's
done.
got
That's better.
Yeah. And he said he requested a treat. So I bought him another game at Woolworths.
Ah, that's very nice. Well done too, asking for the treat.
Yeah.
We were saying before you arrived today, it's so nice to have you here because, you know, you're a very nice person in my life, and the reason you're a very nice person in my life is because apart from all the skills you have, which we're going to talk about today, you're someone that I just feel safe being around, right? And that's actually very unusual for me to feel really safe and relaxed, and it's because of it's who you are really, and part of that safety is you're so modest. But when I was doing research for today, because now I do research, right, because I'm an interviewer, I realised just how many quals you have and how much you've learnt, but you never come across as that you know it all, but you also never come across look, the best way I can say how safe I feel with you is I came to you some months ago and said, Rachel, I need to start doing some yoga. I'm very nervous about such things, but I feel safe coming to you. And I came to you and we set it up, and that was mid-April, and the program is still working. Asterisk, we have a glutes issue we're dealing with now where I need to add it in, and I haven't done that yet, but we will spend time talking about that offline.
Yes.
So why don't we talk a little bit about your current work, and then maybe work back from there so people can hear about you. So you own a business at the moment called Huna in the Hills. Huna is the style of massage, and I actually think people may not be very familiar with that. So would you like to tell us a little bit about what Huna is, and then we'll talk about all the other things you do?
Yeah, great. So Huna is a Hawaiian form of massage, and there's a philosophy that goes along with that as well. It's a really beautiful massage. I won't go too much into the philosophy today, but it's a really beautiful massage that is very nurturing and a very flowing massage, so that it can take you into a very deep state of relaxation. It usually goes for an hour and a half, so that you need that length of time to really sort of sink into being more relaxed.
Yeah, I can attest to how relaxing it is and how lovely it is. When you said there's a whole philosophy behind it, I learnt something not long ago, which I have no idea if it's connected or not. Actually, not even sure it's Hawaiian or not. But have you heard of the Ho'oponopono?
Yeah.
Is that connected to Hawaii or to Huna massage? Or?
Yeah, it is in some ways. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I could try and say it. You might know how it's said properly, but it's something that you can repeat to release. Well, can you say more about it, or am I putting you on the spot?
I can say a little bit about it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I don't even know if I pronounce it properly, but I thought it was like Ho'oponopono or something like that.
You would have a much better chance than me of pronouncing it correctly.
So it's something like you sort of have a little phrase where you say, I forgive you, I love you, thank you, and there's one
Please
more.
forgive me? Is that right?
Forgive me, yeah.
I love you, I forgive you. What was the third one?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can have it in any order.
Yeah, you can do it in any order. And it's a really nice thing to do, right? So is it meant to be a daily practice? Is it meant to be when you're feeling a particular way? Do you know what the history in that way is?
I think it can be used in many ways. And for me, I've personally used it when I've found there's a person in my life that things aren't going well with.
Yes.
And I've really just said this prayer to them in my mind over and over
Yes.
and over, sort of to resolve relationship conflicts.
Yes.
And, so I think, based on my understanding,
Yes.
that it's very much about we create our own world. And so however a person appears for you or whatever is coming up in your life with another person, it is something that you are part of creating. So you are thanking them for the experience. You're loving them. You're saying sorry because you created them that way. You're part of creating them that way.
Yes.
And you're saying, forgive me and all those things. So
Yeah.
it's sort of, it's all about connection, sort of as we're all connected and that we're responsible. We're all responsible.
Yes, it's so beautiful the way you describe it. And I can feel it if I sort of say it to myself as you're talking about it. You can feel the softening and the love and the peace that comes from, because I think sometimes we get confused about what it is to take responsibility and the freedom and joy of owning something so you can then shift it, right?
Yeah, so true.
Amazing. You and I were talking before we started about how you've worked a lot on shifting your perspective, and how that came from your childhood and came from your experience of your parents. I could really relate to what you're saying. Just before we talk about that, the Ho'oponopono, one of our subcontractors, a wonderful woman who works as a counsellor and coach and trainer and very enlightened being, we were talking about when we're up on site. And I said, look, when I go into my donga, which is your own little air-conditioned world, like imagine part of a 70s caravan. You don't get the whole thing, but you get a shower and a bed and it works. It's wonderful to go into your donga at the end of the day because it's just your own little world. And what I do is I shut the door and go, fuck you all. And it's a wonderful release. My friend who goes up does the Ho'oponopono prayer. And now that we've shared it more, I feel like I could probably shift in that direction.
Yeah, it's
Much
very
more loving
useful.
way to say goodbye to the day. So let's talk more about that part. If you're ready to, let's talk more about what we were discussing beforehand, in that one of the things you've realised, or as you were thinking about today, you were thinking about, shifting your own perspective and the importance of that in your life. And I suspect how you're able to help clients with that.
Yeah. So I believe that, I'm very interested in self-esteem for people and connection. And that all comes down to our perspective in life and how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive others. And so because it kind of comes from it's my own personal mission to improve my own self-esteem, to improve my own perception in life. I kind of bring that into my work and see that in my own weaknesses can maybe help others as well, my own experiences. So what I'm trying to create with my work and what matters to me is helping people reconnect with themselves. So when they reconnect with themselves, they often feel this sense of groundedness, calmness, and knowing themselves better and having a better perspective in life. So when you have a better perspective in life, or when I say better, more authentic, grounded, then you can face the world without coming from emotions where you might not see things quite so clearly and you might be more reactive.
Yes.
And so I like to think of helping people create their own well-being toolkit.
Yes.
As toolkit or first aid kit.
Yes.
Because, and massage and yoga are some of those things that you can turn to when you are feeling that you're not dealing with things so well in life. It could be pain that you're dealing with that changes your perspective. Because if you're in pain, you can't really deal with things as well.
Yeah.
Or it could be simply emotional pain. It could be mental or physical pain. Somehow you're not dealing with things as well as you could. And then if you go get a massage, it just takes you back down, grounds you, and then you can get up and face the world a lot better.
Yeah, I can think of all the different ways that you have positively impacted me. So, from a self esteem point of view, that is something that I've struggled with. And when I come and see you, I mentioned at the start of this conversation the safety you provide. When I'm with you, I feel good about myself. And that's actually even if I can't do a stretch we're working on, or that's why I could come to you to do stuff that I felt very vulnerable about, because you create a space for me where I feel loved by you, and I just feel okay, whatever I am. So you are literally succeeding in your mission. And I don't believe for a second it's only me having that experience with you, where I come into your presence and I go, Rachel loves me. I don't need to do anything for her to love me. I'm okay. She's going to help me look at some stuff or work with my body. You and I tend to work more with body stuff together, which is very helpful for me, that spends so much time in my mind. And when I think of, what we've done in recent times, we've done the yoga together, we've done combination, we've done pure Huna massage, and I'm always a bit scared of getting my boobs out. So you have a lovely technique with the towels, so you can still do the swipe, but I can keep my Catholic dignity in check. We've done, I never know how to pronounce it, the other massage you do where you walk on me.
Aishiatsu.
Aishiatsu.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And you have to be so strong, right? Because when you're doing Aishiatsu, you literally walk on me and you're holding on to something on the roof, and you feel very light, which means you must be holding a lot of your weight up. Is that right, as you're doing that technique? We've never talked about it, how you're
Yeah.
actually doing it before.
So sometimes it does mean me it's like taking my own body weight.
Yeah.
But often I'm using just the weight of my leg, for example. Like I'm just resting my foot on you, and then
Yes.
with the oil, it's gliding. And if I want to, if I'm doing a normal massage, I put a bit of body weight behind that and put pressure in. So if I want to go deeper, obviously using my body weight and pressing in deeper with a bit of muscle power, it can be very deep.
Yeah.
But I could also be very light because I can easily take some of that weight away by holding onto the bars.
Yeah, you and I were talking about, because you have different clients and, of course, different genders, men can often take a lot more pressure because of the way their bodies are constituted.
Yeah.
Is that right? Do you find that I can never pronounce it. I want to say Aishiatsu.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
They can take a lot more pressure than women often. Is that true, in the amount of weight you can put on them?
Yeah, it really depends on many factors, but definitely normally that's the case. Women have less muscle mass, and often, it really depends on what you do. An athletic woman might like to have quite a bit of weight.
Yes.
If they're quite a robust person, but if you definitely couldn't, maybe not a great massage for a very frail person, like it's contraindicated, which means there's certain medical things that you wouldn't have that. So if you had osteoporosis or very frail,
Yes.
but yeah, it can be like we discussed, it can be done very lightly, like a
Yes.
Swedish massage, as
Yes.
light as a Swedish massage.
Yes.
So it's just this beautiful broad pressure. I think that the broadness of the foot, there's this broad, even pressure. But often guys that work physically,
Yes.
they just get really tense, and it's really great for people who've got like really a lot of stiffness in their body, people who are just sitting and don't move,
Yes.
and their backs just fuse almost.
Yes.
Like everything goes rock hard, and it's such a great massage to sort of release that.
As you're talking about it, I imagine being in your gorgeous little cottage. So you've got a little cottage at the front of your house. You work out of Kalamunda. And as we're talking, I'm going, this is a lovely conversation. And I wish I was on your table right now, because I couldn't feel I shared with the last guest I had, Peter Slocum, we were talking about how exercise hasn't been an ongoing part of my life and that I'd started doing yoga with yourself. And she said, what did you notice? And I said, I noticed I hold a lot of happiness in my hips. It was this really fantastic realisation, right? But when I think of being the atmosphere you've created there, the relaxation of being there, the way you are, and then because you've got all these various techniques that you're trained in and you work, in my opinion, I think you work quite intuitively and mix up what's needed, that experience of, like I lie on your table, I feel good before you've done anything. And by the end, you made the comment earlier about coming back to oneself, coming back into one's body. Like it's more than the thing that you offer, it's more than just the relaxation of one's muscles. It's transcendent sounds a bit much, but it is an experience where when you go, okay, like that, after some delightful amount of time, an hour and a half or 2 hours, something incredible, I go, okay, thank you. I really am in a different, both physical but also emotional and psychological state. I do feel more grounded, more connected, more safe, more released. And now you're starting to practice. I don't think it's something you're offering as yet, but I've been lucky enough to be one of your first guinea pigs for your stretch lab element as well. What are
Yeah.
you doing there? Where's that up to, the stretch lab?
Well, I'm always doing professional development because I'm this constant student in my life. And started just doing some training in how to stretch people
Yeah.
and make it beneficial. So I'm still practicing that, and
Yeah.
then I'm doing some other things as well.
You really have got, like when I was doing my research, I looked at your Huna in the Hills website and the number of qualifications, you really are. I know a couple of people like you in my life whose level of skill means that you don't always realise the level of skill because the level of modesty you have, right? So you never come across as someone that's like, I'm better than you or I know more than you. But actually you know a lot of stuff and you've been practicing these things for, a long time. I said to you today, at our age, or you're close to my age but not quite my age, we met when the kids were little, but of course we've had a whole life before that. And then when I was reading your history, you've been working in this area since the early 90s, haven't you?
I have.
Right? It's like,
I
no
know,
wonder
it's
you're so
scary.
good at it. So how did it very first start? You coming out of school, and we'll talk more about your childhood in a while, but coming out of school, did you go straight into this kind of wellness therapies? Did you do any other form of study or was it really your calling from the beginning?
Well, actually, I was incredibly lost, and when I was at high school, and it was at that point of time, and I flunked they called it TE then.
Yes.
Because I just had so much emotional stuff going on in my life.
Right.
And I like to say it's not because of my intelligence, because I've since then gone and done a lot of things, but it was just simply because had so much going on emotionally.
Yeah.
But I was so lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And one of my very good friends said she was going to study beauty therapy.
Ah.
And I was not a beauty therapy type of girl at all. I had never worn makeup in my life and I had no idea what a moisturiser was. But I was like, oh, well, I just want to do something with my friends.
Yes.
So I enrolled to do that.
Wow.
And then she decided to go do business studies. But it must have been meant to be because it took me on a journey, because in beauty therapy there's massage and facials and that caring for people.
Yes.
And I ended up working in day spas that took me on, and then I went on cruise ships. But then because of my interest in really more wellness, I sort of veered towards doing extra studies in massage and extra studies. Like I did naturopathy and nutrition and
wow.
all those sort of under the health and wellness sort of direction.
Yes.
But it all started there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that actually did turn out to be kind of a lucky thing, wasn't it? That your friend
Yeah.
said, I'm doing this. You're like, I'll come with you.
And, I was so shy. I was 18 when I started beauty therapy.
Yes.
Straight after school. And I was so shy. I couldn't look at people in the eye.
Wow.
I would look at their teeth. And so I really was terrible because there's these women would come and they had no confidence in me because I couldn't even look them in the eye. I was so shy.
Oh, you can feel the pain of that. Like you can feel how it would be to be wanting to look after people, but at that point being so shy that you couldn't express what you wanted to, right? You were trapped in your shyness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had a lot to learn. I've been on a long journey since then, but one of the things that I couldn't even keep a job for a couple of years. I couldn't keep a job because of that, just
Yes.
lack of self-esteem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got so many questions for you. I really want to hear about the cruise ships. I want to hear about the day spas, but then I'll transport there and I'll be thinking about that too. But when you said about the, losing the couple of jobs and the lack of self-esteem and the shifting of perspective, do you want to say a bit about sort of where you started, as much as you're comfortable talking about in terms of your childhood, and how the years in between, what has shifted around that and what's still to shift maybe?
Yeah, okay. So from my perspective and from what I understand, my role models had also had quite low self-esteem, and they're dealing with their own demons and their own wounds. And so that was my example in life for starters. And then
Yes.
when I got to school, I was so shy, I was a victim of being bullied.
Oh, no.
So pretty much my whole schooling, I had intermittent bullying experiences.
Right.
And and so my perception was formed around that.
Yes.
And so this is why I'm always interested in helping people with self-esteem and loving themselves. And I bring this into my work because
Yes.
I know how it feels
Yes.
to come from that place. But even though I was very shy and had these self-worth issues, I had a lot of courage. So I would challenge myself a lot. And this is what took me to the cruise ships and to India and to all these many, many different things I've done over
Yes.
my adult life. I basically spend my adult life. I almost felt like I didn't grow up I was still a kid, in
Yes.
that way. Because I see so many young people these days.
Yes.
They're just so empowered.
I know.
But I needed an extra 10 years to get to that point.
Yes.
And I went, and I was very, 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 very shy, but I still travelled on the cruise ships
Right.
alone. I went to India alone, again, searching to find myself, studying yoga philosophy.
Yes.
And, and I did so many courses because I never felt I was quite good enough.
Yes.
So I've got all these, you said I've got all these qualifications because I just kept feeling like I need to know more.
Yes, yes, I can understand that. And that piece you said about courage, I think it really is one of the keys, isn't it, to life? No matter how you feel, if you're also brave, and of course, the more scared you are, the more brave it is to do it, you had this bravery that allowed you to. It's actually quite extraordinary to me because you and I have a similar background around some of the esteem issues and some of that side of things, but I always had a partly real, partly protective persona that was not one that was shy, right?
Yeah.
So I was talkative and I had, my ways of making sure I felt okay and safe where I was. And I went out and did different things in the world with a background of low self-esteem and anxiety, but at least a fascia of not that. Whereas you were able to do it without that. So I have to ask about the cruise ships because, of course, how fabulous. So where did you go? Where were they based? What gave you the opportunity, or how did you find the opportunity?
Well, I saw an ad in the newspaper, and I just applied for it. And surprisingly, I got a position. Then we flew to London, and we did some training over there.
Oh, wow.
And so I was working as a spa therapist, and I went to the Caribbean.
Oh, was
Yeah.
it so beautiful?
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yes.
But I have to admit, I think Perth has got some just as beautiful, maybe more beautiful places. Perth in Australia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's true, actually. We do have extraordinary beaches and extraordinary and so unspoilt, right? We are so spoilt because it's so unspoilt. So you apply for the ad, you go to London. Geez, that's so exciting. And then you go to the Caribbean. And do I imagine people are coming into a part of the ship where you say, welcome, lie down, we're going to do. Is that the kind of life you were living? Welcome, let's do your face, or let's have a massage, or.
Yeah, well, I suppose day spas are always about creating this amazing experience for people, and nobody knows what goes on behind the scenes, right?
No,
We worked hard.
no
We
doubt.
worked hard, and and then we partied hard too, right? So we had lots of fun afterwards, after work, late in the hours, and got up early, and
Was there a secret party area for the staff on a cruise ship? I just thought, where are you partying? You can't rock up at the bar and you're with Mildred, whose face you've just done. You're like, hey, Mildred, how are you? Cheers. So where do you have your own eating area, drinks area, living area?
it's a little bit like mining, I think, where you have a food mess, a crew bar.
Hey,
But there's also an interesting thing about cruise ships because there's ranks.
oh,
So as a spa therapist, you are higher up on the ranks. You do get to go to the casino and all the bars. You're allowed to go in your time off
oh,
where the passengers go,
oh,
but with certain rules,
yes,
of behaviour.
yes, fair
You're
enough.
not allowed to fraternise with the passengers.
Got it. Did anyone ever notice you when you were out and about and go, oh, you did my massage today or you did my face today? Did that ever happen?
Honestly, can't remember.
How old were you when you were on the cruise ships?
So I would have been about 25.
And how long did you do it for?
I only did it for 1 year,
Okay.
and then I went travelling after that.
And you were the travelling, was that the India time or was that separate from studying yoga in India?
Yeah, that was separate. That I went to the UK, went to France, and to Ireland.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
Like as a backpacker?
yeah,
How cool. We were there at not dissimilar time. I was over
Yeah.
there about that time as well in England and Scotland and Europe.
Oh, really?
Do you ever remember a brand? You know how there was Kentucky tours? There used to be another thing called Bus About. Did you ever hear of Bus About?
No.
So it was awesome. They kept driving around Europe and you'd hop off and hop back on and you could stay in a place for 1 night or 3 nights or 5 nights and then the Bus About bus would rock up again and you hop back on and you paid for a certain amount of time. I had a illicit affair with my Bus About driver who was 15 years older than me, I think, or he might have been 20 years older. That was like very exciting. And he drove the bus into Spain and I met him in Seville and had my illicit affair with him. I say illicit affair, we were both single, so it was actually perfectly fine. But it was a very nice memory. And for years afterwards, every time I'd see a tour bus, I'd go, oh,
Nice memories.
nice memories, like fancy seeing a tour bus, seeing the big mirror and going, oh, that guy, you know. So you went around and were you just having fun? Were you just touring? Did you work when you were over there or was it just to have a look about?
I was so exhausted after working on the cruise ships, so I didn't work.
Yes.
I actually, I think I slept a week when I got back to the UK.
Yeah.
A friend kindly let me stay in one of her places, and I was exhausted, but I was alone.
Yes.
Though I did have a guy follow me from the cruise ship and meet me in Paris.
Oh, did he? Oh, nice.
So that was fun.
That was fun. Was he your illicit affair post the cruise ship?
Maybe we actually he was always trying to get me to date him on the cruise ships, and I was always saying no. But we sort of had a bit of fun in Paris.
Oh, that's nice. Nice city to do it in as well.
Yeah.
So you're on the cruise ship, you're working very hard, you're exhausted, off to London, have a break, go on a bit of adventure around Europe. Did you come back to Australia before? I haven't even asked you if you were born in Perth. Were you born in Perth?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, cool. And then did you come home and then go to India or continue on your trip and end in India?
No, I came home and just worked for a while, and then I got in. Oh, I was studying naturopathy then. I came home. I was studying naturopathy, which I really loved. But then I switched to remedial massage,
Okay.
and then I switched from that. Then I did started nutrition, and I didn't end up finishing nutrition.
Yes.
No, nutrition. I had a break from that. I stopped. I was doing a degree in nutrition. I stopped that because for some reason. Then I ended up in India. Oh, that's right. When I was studying naturopathy, I met a lovely guy who started teaching me about Vedanta, which is like yoga philosophy.
Oh.
And I got very fascinated in this. I found a little bit of direction. And so he told me about the Vedanta Academy in India.
Oh, wow.
And the teacher there, Swami Pathasari. I'm very bad at pronouncing things, but I hope that I got that right. Who was a fabulous teacher. He's a teacher, but a Swami.
Yes.
And
Is a Swami like a guru or is that a different thing?
similar, yeah. And a sign of respect would to call him Swamiji.
Okay.
So I would always call him Swamiji. I never said his actual name, so that's why I'm not so great at saying it.
Yeah, it would be
I hope
hard
you got
to
it right.
say. There's
Yeah.
a photo on your website where you're sitting with a fellow. Is that the fellow where you're sitting with a
It
group of
is,
people?
yeah. And so I got so much out of that trip, although it was very, very challenging. Yeah, so in India, that was not an easy stay for me. It was facing a lot of things, a lot of growth that came from that.
Like facing emotional things or the difficulty of being in India or a combination of those things?
A combination, because I'd always perceived myself as different. It didn't matter where I went in the world.
Yes.
It came with me.
Got it.
So even when I was on the cruise ships, I always felt I was an outcast. Even when I was, and this comes from being bullied at school,
Yes.
just being that little bit of an outcast.
Yes.
And but that's all my perception, right? Because
Yes.
I'm sure that it's quite possible that other people at school wouldn't have seen me that way.
That's right.
They might have thought I was shy.
Yes.
Actually, in fact, I had a guy I ran into and he said, "Oh, you were that aloof girl." And I'm like, "Aloof? Oh, my God, you thought I was aloof?"
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, so everyone's perspective is different. But anyway, getting back to
Being in India.
being
and
in India.
The challenge of it.
Yeah, so I always felt, again, I felt alone. I felt so alone in the world. There I was with this amazing group of people that mostly Indian people.
Yes.
They were young people that had come from different parts of the world and also local Indian people.
Yes.
And just probably about 5 or 6 Western people.
Okay.
And I found it enormously challenging because that was even another step further of being different.
Yes.
So even though they were beautiful people,
Yes.
I always thought of myself as different. And so that challenged me hugely. I was on a huge, but it also helped me confront and grow.
Yes.
And so that's where I say I had courage because I travelled to India alone.
I know, amazing.
I turned up to the airport at 3 a.m. and, to see the madness of the airport in
Yes,
India.
yes.
And luckily I had people picking me up, but it was, it was quite a challenge that I took on. I think I was still in my 20s and but I found that it was really, really worth doing because I faced a lot of things. Some of the things you had to do there, they got you cleaning. They
Yes.
got you, at one point I was given a toothbrush to scrub the dining room walls on the outside. And
Wow.
in my 20s, my attitude about that wasn't that great.
Yes. Yes.
And I remember having a little tantrum because we were given a role. So while we're there, I'll give you a basic understanding. What we did there is that we started off in the morning where we would be, you wake up at 4, you did a morning prayer, and then about 6 and from 4 till 6 we did self-study.
Okay.
So we were reading about the philosophy, doing reflection and contemplation. And then about 6:30 we'd go do some yoga, some exercise, maybe some walking, and then we'd be getting ourselves ready for meeting for breakfast. I think it was around 8, and then 9 we would have a lecture with Swamiji, and that would be talking about the philosophy, and that was amazing. We were studying, going through the Bhagavad Gita,
Oh, yes.
which is an amazing yogic text, Vedantan text, and then from there we would have lunch. No, before lunch we'd have to do duties,
Okay.
and then we'd have lunch, and then in the afternoon we have time to ourselves to contemplate, be quiet, and really it was about not having contact with other people
Okay.
until afternoon tea. And in that time, I found that very challenging because to be with myself
Yes.
and not to interact with other people. And then later we'd have another lecture, and then we'd have meals, and then we'd go to bed.
Wow.
And this was the routine every day.
How many days were you there for?
So I was there for 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and my intention was to be there for 3 years because it was a 3-year program.
Wow.
But because of all the emotional turmoil and me thinking of myself as different and not good enough, I couldn't continue. I had to go home.
Yeah.
I had to go home. I got way too. And I think this is the real thing about when it comes to doing self-development, you still need your support network around you. I think that we need a lot of support in life because we're all connected, and we're not. I mean, you hear that phrase all the time. We're all connected,
Yeah.
but we really are. We need each other.
Yes.
And so, because I was away from home, already feeling quite like an outcast wherever I went.
Yes.
I couldn't stay, but it was still a life-changing experience.
Oh,
for
well, I
me.
mean, for you to be there for 6 months with how you were feeling is so extraordinary. So when I said how many days were you there, I thought you're going to say 6 weeks, and that was the whole course. So 6 weeks of that would have been incredible. 6 months is mind-blowing. And I agree with you at times, even if one is meant to do a certain thing, one understands what's appropriate, right? Whether to be there or go home or where you're up to. So you've done this incredible study. Had you done yoga prior to going to India? Were you already a practicing yoga participant before you went?
Yeah, so before that, I was really passionate about. From I was 19, I started doing Ashtanga yoga, and then just before I went to India, well, not long, but I did a yoga teacher training.
Okay.
But it was really a very preliminary one that I didn't feel confident enough. So when I came back from India, I actually studied again as a yoga teacher. And then I did a proper 500-hour yoga teacher training.
Yeah, wow.
And then extra things. And then I did yoga therapy.
So you're bringing this history of yoga's still there front and centre today, but then there's also the massage element. There's also the sort of healing element of your yoga therapy. So, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about how all things have come together. So since that time of doing your more full yoga training, from that time on, have you always been a yoga teacher, or have you done different things between then and now around how you express your yoganess, your massageness, your, yoga therapy? How has that looked?
Yes, I had breaks because I had a child. I had
Yes.
breaks, but when he turned 4 months old, I started teaching a class again.
Right.
And so I've always been doing it
Yes.
to a small capacity, and always been doing professional development. Again, thinking like I'm not good enough, like I have to do more, I
Yes.
have to do more.
Yes.
And then what's changed is then there's the changes in life, right? So my body's changed. I used
Yes.
to do amazing athletic things in my
Yes.
20s doing yoga. Now I realize that we have these different phases in life
Yes.
where we do a different kind of yoga. And then as we get older, we have to let that go because our
Yes.
bodies change and our
Yes.
bodies need different things. And so the journey of life of becoming a mother, and then as we and quite an older mother, because I was 40 when I had him.
Yes. Snap. Me too.
Yeah. So then it's kind of like being that older mother, that your body dealing with childbirth, and then bit of postnatal depression, and all the different things, that the waves and the rides of life.
Yeah.
That, and then relationship breakups and all those things. And then health, like working as a massage therapist, that I'm working physically, it affects my body.
Yes.
So I can't. I used to do amazing things when I was younger as
Yes.
in yoga, but now I can't do that so much. But I really feel, and I've always been into the philosophy
Yes.
and the spiritual side of it. But I
Yes.
really feel that it starts with the body. It
Yes.
starts with the body, but we are a whole integrated human being, and humanity as well. Yoga means union.
Oh, does it?
So it's about uniting yourself, becoming whole, but also that connection with everything. And you can make it mean whatever you want. So it could just be exercise or stretching for some people, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm
That's
sure it
okay.
is. I'm sure it is.
I mean, it starts with the body. When you're connected with your own body, when you're looking after your own health physically, then you are it's going to have a ripple effect to your whole being, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. But getting back to what you were saying,
As in putting all the different elements together. Like, I think you were talking to it when you were talking about the transitions through life, and then I don't think you're in your 20s. I feel like you'd already had Kieran and you were practicing to do handstands. I remember an
yes.
amazingly strong phase where I was like, oh yes, handstands. And that was the end of the journey for me, but for you it continued.
Oh yeah. So actually, after you have this little pause with
Yeah.
pregnancy, but then after I got recovered from that, yeah, I got right into doing handstands and pike to handstands, and I became super, super, like I was doing things that I never even did in my 20s, like amazing.
Yes.
Like I had this phase where my body was the best it'd been in my life.
Yes.
And then I lost it again, right? So just
Amazing.
another phase, another where nothing's permanent.
Yes.
And unless you put the practice in diligently and be consistent, everything you achieve in life is about consistency.
Yes.
And so if you drop off, then you're back to square one again almost.
Yeah.
And so one of the things for me is emotional hurdles have always meant that I've had a little bit of a setback. But
Yes.
in some ways it's a setback, like maybe physically, and then I'm starting again physically, getting my health together. But then on other levels you're growing. So you're always learning from those experiences and becoming
Yes.
a wiser person. But I suppose what I'm saying is that what I teach now
Yes.
is a different kind of yoga. So it's a gentler yoga. It's a yoga that maybe is better for people 40 plus.
Yeah.
Because it is about you can be strong, and you can be stronger and fitter in your 40s, 50s and 60s than you were in your 20s. Just depends what you do. But it's taking a very different approach where you need to be gentler with your body and realize that your body's been through so much, so many
Yes.
years, and you can be quite rough with your body in your 20s and get away with it.
Yes.
But, you can't do that so much later in life. And I suppose my yoga's changing with my age, and what I teach is changing. So when I'm going through my 40s, I'm more aligned with teaching what's great for people in that age group.
Yeah, which is so nice as a participant. I've come to your yoga class, and that sort of gentle yoga, particularly for someone who's a bit anxious around how they can work physically. One of the things you've helped me with is because I'm quite stiff, and you said it's okay, you don't have to overextend. And sometimes people who really overextend can hurt their bodies, which I really liked, because we were talking about Schadenfreude at a different time, Danielle and I, and it made me feel happy. I'm like, yeah, you're stretching too much actually. But the one that you do, and I think when I was there, the age of women and how the room felt and everything, it's wonderful to me. It matches that you would be teaching what's a good match for you. Do you have a regular yoga class that people would like to hear about? What are you doing these days? Are you doing more work from home, or are you still having classes at a venue?
So I've been teaching at Yoga Centred in Kalamunda, and I've been teaching there, but I'm actually having a little break this term.
Okay.
Because I'm doing some more professional development.
Awesome.
And I am learning about activated yoga.
Oh.
Which is really fantastic because, I coming from a massage therapy background,
Yes.
it's about really working with the connective tissue, working with yourself as a whole person, and it's actually strengthening your body. But you can do it with the most simplest poses. So it helping people recondition their bodies. So it's great for people sort of for any age, obviously, but between 40 and 60, it helps you really recondition your body, doing gentle postures, but activating them in such a way that you start to regain the strength that you need.
Oh, that's so exciting.
And then slowly you can progress into, and it's a progression. It's a journey of, like, you don't just go to the gym and you can do everything and have, it's a slow progression of building your body up to be able to then, and to function. It's functional. So then
Yes.
you can then actually, and again, we just start with the body, but it's a lot more than just the body, right? It's your whole person, but allowing you to move in life so that you can run and play with your kids, your grandkids.
Yes.
And with ease and not be in so much pain. Like, pain doesn't have to be inevitable with age.
Yes, I really like that idea because I'm so alive and don't feel in any way old, but have a body that, I haven't looked after, because it was only in recent years I realised I just had it that my body was there to serve me. That's always the attitude I've had for my body, that this vessel is there to serve me. I've done a lot of apologising to it, a lot of Ho'oponopono. It's pretty forgiving, but there's work to be done now, right? Because we're both in the same situation, reasonably young children, particularly for our age, and I love being alive, and anything I can do to help me do that and be mobile and all the rest. Even on the way here today, I was thinking about David White, the beautiful poet, and he sometimes does walks where you can walk with him in the west of Ireland as he speaks poetry. And in there he says, you must have stable ankles and knees. And of course, we know I have a bit of a knee story, and it's funny, that functionality you're talking about. I clearly wasn't motivated enough by vanity to do stuff when I was younger. If I was naturally skinny, great. If I was naturally chubby, well. But now it's like, okay, hang on, this body's got to work, man. Like, I've got to be able to go on my David White tour, got to be able to walk with my son, play, not be in pain. So, yeah, selfishly, as you talk about activated yoga, I'm like, woo, next element of my journey with Rach,
Yeah.
But if other people want to be able to spend time with you, what's the different ways people can work with you? So your yoga centred where you're working there, that's in Kalamunda, and Huna in the Hills gives a bit of a hint that you're also in Kalamunda, right?
Yeah.
So if someone who's listening goes, oh, I'd like to go and see this woman, she sounds fabulous, what different kinds of things could they do with you if they wanted to come and say hello?
Yeah, so currently what I am doing is I've personally built my own little studio,
Yes.
little cottage,
Yes.
with the help of a very great guy who helped me in the past, but as we've drifted apart.
Yes.
And at the studio, what I'm doing there is I'm doing all my massage. I've got it set up for me so I can do my Aishiatsu and Huna and all the specialties that I do, which are couldn't do working for someone else necessarily because they don't have all that set up.
No, I've never
Yeah.
seen that set up before, and I've never heard the offering that you can give. And correct me if I'm wrong, that if people want elements of the different things you can do, you can combine. Like with me, you will combine Huna and Aishiatsu, and sometimes some stretching, and which is heaven, by the way. Like as that part of what you do more and more, that being stretched by someone else is so much better than stretching yourself, you know, because you just literally lie like a starfish and then get these wonderful stretches done to you, you know. So it feels so decadent, but you still get the beautiful result at the end of being limber and stretched out and all the rest. So they can come and have Huna massage, Aishiatsu, bespoke, I suppose we call it, if you got to know them and they said, let's do a bit of all of those things.
Yeah, and also I am doing yoga therapy, and so I weave everything together if you want that. I'm also a remedial massage therapist, so if somebody simply wants remedial massage, that's fine too, because I really find that I love doing that as well,
Yes.
like helping people overcome remedial issues.
Yeah, because it can be very healing, can't it? A good remedial massage if there's an area that's sore or tight. Or can you help me understand? I can make up my own definition of yoga therapy versus yoga, but can you help us with what's the difference between if I was going to come to yoga therapy or go to a yoga class?
Yeah, so when you go to a yoga class, it's generalized. It's like in some ways, it's like going to an aerobics class because it's not it's not specialized for one person.
Yes.
Now, people could have a private yoga class that would be specialized to them. The difference between a private yoga class and yoga therapy is it is really looking at the bigger picture and you as a whole person. So you could have a private, we can make it work for you and what is always catered to you as an individual
Right.
and what you're needing. And just say you are just needing some help at the moment on your physical body. So that could be the focus, and it could be a physical practice. But yoga therapy is not just looking at you as, we're not dividing you up into different parts. We're looking at you as a whole. So we'll be looking at you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as well as physically, and addressing everything in your life. And there's an aspect of counselling in that.
Yes.
Not actually counselling, but, just there's a lot of listening and talking that can happen as well if that's what you're needing.
Yes.
And sometimes when people go to yoga therapists, say if they're struggling with cancer, for example, or some sort of medical issue, and the yoga therapist works in as part of the team to support that person, and the yoga therapy isn't necessarily going to be doing what like a doctor would do, and they're not taking on the role of, they're not taking over other people's areas. They're working to help you be more grounded, to help you be in your body, to use the practice to be more centered and holistic.
You can hear how
healing.
it would, if you're seeing a traditional doctor, as in my opinion you should with something like cancer, then this is a complementary therapy that can support the whole being, the mind, the spirit, the physicality as someone's going through that process. When you think about where you're up to now, one of the subjects Danielle and I have talked about on this podcast is the big why versus the little why. So finding this podcast and whatever this will lead to has felt very close to my big why, right, that I've been looking for a long time, and it's been really joyous to find it. When I both work with you as a practitioner but also hear about what you're up to, I feel like you are living your why. Does it feel like that to you, or do you feel like there's any element that's like, I am, but, or do you feel like, this is my thing, man, like I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing?
I really think that it is what I'm meant to be doing. I am still so thirsty for knowledge to improve and make things constantly evolve with it. But I definitely feel like I'm on the path I want to be on.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
So if I can just offer you some unsolicited advice, I love that you're always looking for what's next as one of your clients, it's of nothing but benefit to me. But if you could just set aside the part where you're like, I'm not good enough, I need more, because that's, you don't. If we just talked about your quals, we would have taken up the whole podcast listing them and talking through them. So I love that you're always looking to learn more. I'm very grateful for it. But yeah, you've made it, baby. Like, you are very good at what you do and you're a delight to be with. And the truth is, even as we talk about this, it's not like thousands of people can come and see you. You don't have the capacity. So,
No.
you know, those that do get to work with you like me, you know, it's a real blessing. So I said
Thanks.
it before, but thank you for thank you for who you are and what you provide in the world. And for me, and I'm sure for all of your clients, it's such a blessing to be with someone that is just committed to us feeling better and is just love. You just love.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so wonderful to hear that.
Yeah, you really make a difference, Rach. You've done amazingly, and the courage you've shown in your life, I just hope you understand. I just hope you understand how brave you've been and how far you've come, and I hope you feel very proud of yourself.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a delight. Is there anything else we haven't talked about that you'd like to? Is there anything else you'd like people to know, or did you think we'd talk about something and we haven't?
I can't think of anything.
No, it feels like we've kind of talked about you and what you do. So, yeah, awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.